really good to talk about like mindset for healing. And I know that that gets really annoying to hear, but there's a reason why we address that so much. What I have noticed for myself, and Karly, I'm sure that you've observed this, with clients too, because we do work with a lot of people that have chronic issues. Like they've been dealing with them a really, really long time. Maybe we're the first people that have actually been able to put some, pieces to the puzzle together, and you finally start to feel hope, right? That fear, one of the things that we can do when we recognize the fear, right, of like, okay, because performance and perfection they're really in the fear, like they come from a root of fear. That's never really rooted out of a place of like, I'm happy and thriving and awesome, like, right? That's not really where that comes from. So if we recognize that that voice is the voice of fear, that perfectionism is coming from a place of fear that really comes from having to have walked through something really, really, really hard and scary, then what we need to apply to that is validation. And so literally, like putting your hand on your belly and your heart and being like, body, that was so hard to go through. Like that was really hard. That was really scary to not have answers and to feel like I was losing my mind and my body and my resources, like all at the same time. I think we forget that walking through physical healings is very emotional. It's very emotional to feel like you're not going to get help. The way that we tackle that fear is not by just like rebuking it, right? Like fear, go, I mean, sometimes there's a time for that, but other times it's just like that fear is actually trying to tune me in to something that's happening in my body that was really scary. And maybe I never validated that. And maybe this is triggering, right? And so with triggers, we deal with those differently because, you can't out logic a trigger. You have to feel the trigger and heal the trigger. Okay. So when you're feeling that of like, oh no, I had sunflower oil or whatever, and that's caused a really big flare up, body, we're okay.
Yeah.
We're safe now. There's going to be some ups and downs in healing. And I know this is really hard because you're not just talking to you, the emotional person, but you're also talking to it's almost like integrating that emotional and physical experience together. And that's not easy to do, right? And so really showing some self-compassion and validation for the journey of like, yeah, this is really frustrating when that happens. It doesn't have to send me all the way back to zero. It's not going to send me all the way back to zero, but I am mindful that there's a need here. And this need, is telling me to slow down or ask for help or just be really, really gracious with my body instead of being frustrated with it. And then the other thing that I would personally like put in post-it notes, like on my mirror, like wherever I'm walking around the house, if I have to like put it on my forehead, I mean, however I need to do it, right? Is that you don't have to do it perfectly to heal because nobody
Mhm.
can. Nobody does, right? And so maybe writing something down like that, like I don't have to do it perfectly to heal, because you really don't. So Karly, do you want to share a little bit about just some of the
Yeah.
thoughts you have on that?
Yeah, because I know there's been almost the stress of, okay, here's all the things that I have to do or have to avoid, and it can become emotionally stressful, which then obviously impacts our cortisol imbalance too. So it's like, where is the balance in all of that? And something that I try to encourage clients to do is really almost do daily check-ins. And it doesn't even have to be this whole like process, but just whether when you wake up in the morning or kind of before you start your day or as you're making food or whatever, to just kind of check in with your body and ask what it needs for that day rather than thinking about like the whole list of the things that you could do. And I'm finding that that can be really, really more simple and beneficial because our body also just sometimes needs different things depending on the day as well. Um, and then when it comes to like avoiding a bunch of foods or triggers, it is just like we have to live in that balance of what we are able to do or not, and really just kind of looking at that scope of like what is in my capacity to be able to do today or this week? Um, and realizing, what we're actually in control of or not, and then being able to let go what we just can't control, and not getting into like the performance of it, because that's also like an unhealthy pattern to get into, and just extending grace for ourselves and what we can do. So sometimes when we're going through like these healing journeys and we have all these things we want to do or accomplish or feel like we should do, almost writing it down like on a list of the things that we're in control of and then the things that we aren't. Or maybe when you go out to eat, like what are the things that you really want to focus on, and then what are the things that you feel like are okay with kind of letting go of a little bit. So that's helpful too, like visually, if you're a visual person, seeing that and writing that stuff out. Yeah,
So
it's kind of like our bodies are, it's almost this analogy of parenting. Like we're kind of parenting our bodies into healthy behaviors, and bring it back to a place of homeostasis. But if you think of a child that has gone through something hard or traumatic or is unruly or whatever, it's like every day can look a little different, and approaching that child with compassion. And so that's just what I try to encourage myself and other people to do, is approaching it with compassion rather than you need to heal in this certain amount of time, or you need to be this way or that way, because that's not how we would talk to a child.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
a good point.
easier said than done, but if
We are
we
walking the walk ourselves, so we get it.
yes, we do.